Hello and welcome to Center of Merriment. It's our weird podcast about very weird stuff, but mostly TV episodes. And from our title change, you know that it's about Christmas TV episodes. I'm Josh, and with me, as always, on this merry journey, it's Santa Skinner. He has the body of an MMA fighter, not an M&M eater.
I had the body of an actual M&M.
So, this week on the show, we are diving in to...
diving down the chimney into...
That's right. We're diving down the chimney into the Santa Clauses, the new Disney Plus spin-off series from the Tim Allen movie series, The Santa Claus. We last talked about Tim Allen on... the Halloween episode of Home Improvement that we covered. This is a guy who just can't let holidays rest. He's got to have his hands in both of them from my childhood. He was a big part of Halloween for me as a kid, and he was a big part of Christmas because of the Santa Claus. Do you have any fondness for the original Santa Claus movie?
Do I? Not really.
Fair. Okay.
I think. Let's see. What year did it come out?
So it was like 94, maybe
94. So I was like in going to be a senior in high school pretty soon. Not really my deal at that point.
Fair. I think I was 9 at the time, so 9 or 10 around that. So that makes sense that I would be into that.
And by the time
kind of movie,
Santa Claus 2 came out in 3, like I'm. moved on, married adult. I'm not fucking watching it. I have seen them in pieces non-consecutively within the movies, non-consecutively on TV.
Okay. I've never seen either the second or third one.
I think the third one, if I remember correctly, is visually terrifying.
Well, it is. I mean, it does have a very scary looking Martin Short, so as Jack Frost. So, and I thought the whole point of the third one was that he got to stop being Santa, but I guess not, because it's called the Escape Clause. So I didn't know if it was like, oh, he got out of being Santa Claus at the end of it and got to retire, but I guess that's not the case. I guess he continues to be Santa at the end of the movie. This, and I didn't see Santa Claus 2, but I know it has to do with him finding a wife. I think we've covered a lot of different Santa materials over time, and a big part of a lot of them is Santa finding a wife, or else the magic goes away, which is really weird and very much like reinforcing traditional sort of norms of sort of family life and of just general life, which I think is pretty funny. You there?
I was sorry, I was trying to figure out how much, if there's any chance of Judge Reinhold on this show. That's what was really that's the Santa lore that I wanted to know, was more about Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, I don't think he pops up. I mean, he is in the second one, but I don't know if he shows up in the actual show or not. I
know the original son does.
Yeah, I don't think he's in the third one either. So, I mean, they must have just written out Judge Reinhold, which is sad. I will say that I think that is maybe because we've talked about like different aspects of the Santa lore and like how different movies introduce different things. I think we did we covered a movie in one of our old podcasts where some cats had to deliver a bunch of presents because Santa had a reaction to. Was it like he had a nut allergy or something? Had to get an EpiPen shot and then couldn't deliver things. So
something like that. I could see that fitting into this show, honestly.
Yeah, same. I think that I did also watch a recent movie with not recent, but I recently watched it with the middle Lawrence brother with Matthew Lawrence. Where he also plays the son of Santa, and he has to get married and get the magic. And most of his magic involves him fixing food that people ruined. So like a lady burns some cookies, and he fixes the cookies, and then another lady burns a turkey, and he reverse cooks the turkey to to make it better.
I think that should be the plot of Practical Magic 2.
But so let's talk about the Santa Clauses. Obviously, Tim Allen sucks. Let's just get that out of the way now, so we are all on the same page. He's a bad dude. This show, this episode in particular, has lots of dumb bullshit in it that definitely appeals to his sort of political mind. We watched the first episode of the series.
Good to ho.
Yeah, the first episode, Good to Ho. It's bad. Like, it's very bad.
Like, it's visually bad. Like, it's hard. It's not good to watch with your eyes. There's this horrible CGI little cat rat thing, which is not good. Everything about it, like, there's so many jokes that I just had to go, that's a bad joke. I mean, there's one okay bit in the whole thing, but Tim Allen looks and sounds terrible. And here, having been people who've watched a lot of Christmas stuff, and we've covered stuff from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and today, much like a radio station, it is so annoying that whenever you make a fucking Santa Claus movie, regardless of when you made it, the person making it has this incredible point of the kids these days, because of current kid products and entertainment, don't believe anymore. And they haven't changed that. They all act like they're making some fucking point. From like, they thought that in the 80s, early 80s, 2000s, and like, in theory, what Santa Claus is now telling us, that Santa Claus is that this Scott Claus is that 20 some years ago, whenever, because his kids aren't not that old, Christmas was still wildly considered like Santa Claus was real. Christmas was loved by everyone. It is only now with PlayStation 5s and MetaQuest, which you can buy online anytime you want, highly featured in this episode, that technology has finally robbed the world of its Christmas spirit, just like it did in Elf in the early 2000s, just like it did in countless other shows in 1990s, and probably in this own series itself, and the decade before that, and the decade before that. Kids just have stopped believing, but they did believe before. When was that before? It was when you were a kid. When you were a kid, things were better. And I am so fucking tired of any of these shows, and especially a guy like fucking Tim Allen, because he can go kiss my ass, of it used to be better, but it's bad now. This is a Santa Claus. We're supposed to be a little bit grumpy because he's losing his magic, and they make a lot of ED like jokes. But he is upset. He is confounded that he can't put more kids on the naughty list, that they are simply misunderstood now as classified by someone who, when given the power to make judgment on children, the power goes to her head. They go crazy with it, much like the woke mob. So like I know I'm probably like reading a little bit into his own personal policies on this thing, but I'm so sick of.
I think that's fair to do, honestly. I mean, because it's Tim Allen. Like, I think that he's more than made it known how he feels about.
But he was canceled by Disney. But he's on Disney Plus at the moment. It's really weird how that works. He will tell you right now that he was canceled because he wasn't voicing an unsuccessful movie. And he is all over their launch page right now. And you know what? He looks like shit. And he sounds like shit. Holy crap.
Yeah, this is pretty rough. Like, I get it. You know, he's an older man now. That's fine. People age.
69 years old.
Yeah, nice, great. But yeah, he looks pretty. It's like they're doing something different with the makeup, like, because it appears that he does turn back into regular Scott Calvin at some point in this series. Because there is an episode which I will just get it out of the way. I'm kind of interested to see what the rest of this fucking show looks like, especially chapter 5, Across the Yule Verse, where he meets a bunch of Santas, including a Krampus. But he looks like he's just sort of dressed like a regular person at that point. So I'm kind of curious if it's just bad makeup or if Tim Allen just really looks rough now. But yeah, they've done something to him. They've given him like a weird, huge nose or something. It's hard to say what is going on with him.
And to me,
but
he also has that voice of, say, like if I try to record a podcast when I'm 69, I've been recording every week for a couple hundred years, and he's done stand up and probably just yelled at his neighbors a lot for the last 40 years. Like, he sounds like this, and he sounds like he's kind of got his more extra teeth in his mouth that kind of older person happens. But like he sounds like it 10 years too early.
Yeah, he does sound like there's just something going on. Like he's had some dental surgery or some work done that is
Maybe
creating,
someone punched him in the face and we just never heard about it. That warms my heart on Christmas
I mean,
time.
his vocal cords might have been fried by all the nose magic that he's got to do.
There's a lot of nose magic in his fucking
there's
show.
There's a lot of references to his magic stopping working, and it's always in the form of him not being able to click his nose and fly up the chimney. Which we just thought it was very funny because of what Tim Allen really became very famous for, which is ratting on his friends who were dealing cocaine.
Never forget that. He was a young man, except for he was already an adult. But
yeah. So yeah, okay. So let's set up kind of because you did a little bit of research, and I wanted you to save it for the episode to tell me what the show is about. But first, before we get there, we get an opening shot of Cal Penn, who is in this show, which is very surprising because he was part of the Obama administration. I'm sure someone that Tim Allen did not like, so I'm not sure how he allowed them to cast this guy in the episode. But Cal Penn is a CEO of a big company called Everything Now, which I think is supposed to be poised as like a Amazon competitor, and they're working on Christmas Eve. He's on a video chat with a bunch of his people, and they're trying to get some product out, and things are not going well for them. They have an idea of trying to get something out by next year, but they're still facing some problems. He tells them to that they're going to work. It sucks to work on Christmas Eve, but hey, we got to get some work done. But his daughter comes in and is like, "Hey, I need your help decorating stuff." And he's like, "All right, you know what? You're right." Tells everybody to go be with their families. And we do get a little bit that made me laugh, which was him closing the laptop on them as someone says, "But I have no family," which I thought that's pretty funny. There's a couple lines that made me laugh. But yeah, overall this show is very dismal.
What I think is very interesting, and this is kind of how all this is always pitched now, especially when this is like a fourth entry into something. You fell deeply in love with the Santa Claus original movie because you watched it when you were 9 years old, and it became your favorite movie of all time. Much like
that's right.
Home Improvement was your favorite television show of all time.
Was my favorite show. That's right. I just love Tim Allen. I think he's.
He's your dad.
I love how he rolled over on all his drug dealing friends. I just really admire that.
But so in theory, that is why, because people watch it when they were young, and I'm sure lots of people watch all three movies on TV when they were young, and they rewatch and they rewatch and rewatch them. But this addition to the canon, or this continuation of the story, many years later, in theory, you'd think it would be for kids because the first movie was for kids, which it should be, and that is absolutely fine. It's not. It is for people in their 30s who remember the first movie because there's jokes in it that just like most of the jokes in it, especially the ED jokes and all the stuff with Casey Wilson. It's just both making fun of people in their 30s and also like. No kid would. The kids aren't laughing about adults who live with their parents because that's what they're looking for in the future. Because they're not getting houses either. But
Yeah, no,
it takes a bit of it takes what charm I imagine was in the first ones and Judge Reinhold's sweaters and kind of removes it, become less charming, and because it's not into kids, and then you're supposed to already know and love Mr. Scott here, Scotty Claus. He's unlikable in this episode. Like, I don't want him. I know what the plot of the entire series is, and I'm upset because I do not like this character as is.
Okay, so well, I want to go through the episode, and then you can kind of give me a breakdown of what you found. Like, I see some little like video clips of him in the trailer for the series where he does look better without the makeup on. So I do have to think that they just failed him in the makeup department.
That would line up with all the other effects
badly.
of the show.
Yes, I think that is so that okay. So that's a good sort of starting point, is that the effects and the look of this show is worse than the movie from 1993 or 4, whatever. Like, it's kind of wild that it looks as bad as it does. Like, this is Disney Plus. Disney has more money than anybody. Like, they have plenty of money. They could make a show that looks good, and they have shows on their platform that are good. Like, they're there's nothing wrong with them. Like, it's not to say that it's a TV show and so it's going to inevitably look bad. That thinking has gone out the window now. TV shows have huge budgets, bigger than some movies, and they look good. There's nothing wrong with it being on TV, but for whatever reason, they just dropped the ball like so bad in the way this show looks. The reindeer animations are terrible. Like, it feels like a screensaver of a reindeer running. Like, it looks so bad.
And I get that, like, it's Santa Claus. He's gonna be doing stuff at night, but even the North Pole stuff, everything is in the dark and lit with like a yellow candle. Like, it looks flat. The CGI stuff with him on the sleigh, they should have just forgotten about. Like, get it over with. Anytime he Mary Poppins up with his sack, they should do a little bit less of that. Like, once again, there's this little rat thing. Shows up for a second. His daughter's pet friend. It looks fucking horrible. And it would be funny if they had, or the joke was, this thing looks horrifying. It isn't. It's just there.
It would be funny if it was like a toy that she brought to life or something like that, or like a toy that was made that was brought to life, through the elf magic or whatever. Like,
a long
that would
Furby
be fine.
That she became friends with, that got left.
Yes, this is a long Furby. You're right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like you said, like it looks flat, but I like the credits hit the end, and all of a sudden it has like the Northern Lights, and it has this gold and like deep blues and bright yellows, and I'm like, where were these colors? Like, this is a Christmas show. This is the first episode. Yeah, you're setting the table with all this food, but you're setting the tone, literally and figuratively, of this show. Give me some fucking Christmas colors. Give me something pop. Make the North Pole look good. I get it. The joke, which is never not funny. The elves are serious and the North Pole is a business. That's fucking great. It's never gets tiresome. But God, they could add a few colors into their offices. It's just something, or make it look like the retro tech computers from Aliens.
It's a weird bit of it's interesting because we do get a scene. I guess I'll go back to it, like where we were. Cal Penn and his daughter, they hear some noise on the roof, which it's Santa, and they run into the panic room because they think it's a burglar. And the daughter, of course, thinks that it might be Santa, but then she talks about how kids at her school say Santa is over this year. Not that he's canceled, that will come later, I'm sure, but that he's over because of whatever reason, because it's just not, not cool to like Santa anymore. And so they realize that it's probably okay. They come out and find that their house is fully decorated and it looks lovely. We see Santa do a trick with his elf with with a cruller. Like he shoots a cruller out of a gun, and then Santa flies forward and does a bunch of loops, and then catches the cruller in his mouth, which is great, super fun, awesome. They spend time in this 33-minute episode doing this.
It looks like garbage. What is
it does look like garbage. We do get the credits though, which you hated, and they are terrifying. They're probably one of the scariest things I've ever seen, which is horribly animated CG reindeer that are flying around in like a weird kind of like the end credits, Northern Lights and stuff. But then you have this awful looking CG Santa face that you're like going into its mouth, which is very scary. It's like that weird CG Shrek head that like you continuously zoom through the Shrek mouth in
it's like or like
Infinity.
Mario in Mario 64, where you could try to stretch and move his face around.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But they do realize when they're flying around that the list is a little smaller than usual, which we kind of start to see means that obviously the Christmas spirit is kind of down this year. People are not feeling as Christmassy as they once did. And he makes a stop at a house which doesn't appear to be on the list this year, but he remembers it. He's very fond of this place. And he goes down the chimney, and it turns out it is the home of Sarah, the little girl from the first movie, one who she saw him at the first movie, and he made a joke about that he was lactose intolerant, and so she left him out like soy milk the following year, which I'm sure Tim Allen would have lots to say about soy these days. And it turns out she's an adult now. She's in her 30s, played by Casey Wilson, who's a really funny actor. I don't know if she shows up anymore in this series, but if this is her only scene, what a bummer.
I was excited to see her, and there was some good comedy in her just watching him try to get out the house normally, but everything else is making fun of adults who can't get out on their own because of financial difficulties and emotional difficulties, and also just the whole like, who are you? You're not Santa. I'm an adult. I don't believe in you. I want to arrest you or use pepper spray on you, which you've seen
Yes.
dozens of times, and there's literally no twist on it.
And that is her only scene in the show. She's only in that episode at that time, which is really kind of insane to me. But yeah, like he does give her a little Polly Pocket, the thing that she wanted as a kid, which is cute. And he does mention here that like it's not that adults stop believing in Santa, but the magic instilled in them when they're kids fades, and so that causes them to stop. Yes, that causes them to stop believing. So
this show does have the same color palette as Polar Express.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's some, it's a weird. Actually, that Santa in the opening credits looks like the dead-eyed creatures from the Polar Express.
And forgive me if any of you out there are of the age where you grew up with Polar Express and thus love it. Might not for you and people his age, but it's awful.
Yeah, no, it's not
awful
good.
to see. And like, once again, if you are the right age, you would love it. That's fantastic. If you do not fall into that age, nothing looks worse.
I think the story is fun, but I think that the execution is just a bit of a mess.
The voices are a mess. Why is Tom Hanks the kid? what the hot chocolate scene is one of the worst scenes in movie history. Um, I'm thinking
yeah.
about it right now, and I'm just gonna sit here and stew while you do the plot for a bit. It's not even really
So we
singing.
we cut to the North Pole, and some of the elves are a little concerned that like Santa won't finish this year. They're making bets about it and everything. We do have like a kind of a new head elf, played by, oh gosh, what's her name? Matilda Lawler, who is, if you haven't seen Station 11, watch that show. Amazing show. Really, really good show. She's great in it. She's not very good here. I mean, she's fine, but like there's not much for her to do, basically.
Yeah, she doesn't
Um,
have anything to do. I mean, she
mm,
she no one really does, but
no, 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 no.
she's trying.
Yeah, she's
She
trying.
obviously has poise.
She's a good actor, so it's,
Yeah.
and she'll probably have a very long career ahead of her. But yeah, so they're kind of concerned about that. They're worried about the magic too because some things are kind of being weird on the sleigh. Um, we cut to his family, who I guess are not in the third one. Maybe they are his babies, but I
Yes. So they introduce Buddy, who is called Cal in this. He calls
okay.
his son Cal based on his own last name. Like if I had one of my kids and instead of calling them their first name, I called them a nickname based on their last name, which I also share. I'm on the football team with them.
Skinner. That's your kid's name.
But his name is Buddy. But I
Okay.
imagine they could not call him Buddy anymore for the obvious reason.
Oh, Buddy the Elf.
Buddy the
Yes.
Elf.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, because they are basically using the exact same plot from that movie as this show. Um, so yeah, Cal, and then Sandra, I think, is his daughter's name, which is weird. Like Sandra Claus. So maybe that's the big twist of the movie, is that she becomes Santa at the end. That would be
It is
interesting.
not.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a bummer. So I'm assuming he must
Nothing
save Santa,
changes.
but we'll find. Yes, okay, great. We'll find out for sure in just a bit. But his family feels bad because they want to see their dad, but it's obviously it's the busiest time of the year for him, so he's doing stuff. This is where we meet that weird CGI long Furby that Sandra has. His name is Lewis, and they were going to make popcorn together. And Mrs. Claus, played by Elizabeth Mitchell, probably best known for being in Lost and these movies, she cannot remember her first name.
Now that's what I
Um,
thought at first, that she had totally forgot her real name. I think with the second speech she does on it is that she realizes that the character that she inhabits of Mrs. Claus does not have a name. That she does
interesting.
remember that Carol is her past name, but
Okay.
Mrs. Claus does not have a first name like Santa. Apparently, his first name is Santa, and his last name is Claus. It's not
Yes.
Saint Claus.
But
So
he's not Chris Kringle?
he's just Santa is his first name, but she does not have
Okay.
one. She says maybe she's Shanta.
Yes.
At this point, she's very happy in the role of Mrs. Claus and is very cheerful. And her kids are like, your whole deal is being cheerful. That's just because you're Mrs. Claus and it makes you cheerful. And then she's like, "No, I remember I know my first name," and she can't. And like you're like, okay, she's having a moment of some kind of weird realization for the first time in 20 some years. By the next scene, she's completely on board with Miss Claus needs to have more of a role. Like
Yeah, I
it takes one scene where we don't even see her going from I'm happy and cheerful and I like what I do to things need to change.
yeah, so like I'm confused, and I don't know if they cover this in the other movies. If they do, great. But like when Santa dies, does his wife just vanish? Does she
That is
experience death
that
in that way? Does she turn to dust? What happens?
they retcon that later in this show. He did not die.
Oh, all right.
He just walked away when no one was looking. It was all intentional.
Oh, okay. Well, don't spoil it for me. Let me be surprised. So, so basically they almost fall out of the sky because the magic meter is running really low.
Like
Santa
Elf.
is kind of having a hard time with it.
Like
Like Elf,
Elf.
yeah, exactly. The elf that goes with him, which is not really like a common thing in Santa lore. The elf that goes with him says he smells like despair, which also sounds like a line from Elf when he says you smell
It
like
does.
beef and cheese and sit on a throne of lies. Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Otherwise, all
Very
these characters
interesting.
only exist to tell Tim Allen's character that he's great and he loves him.
Yeah, Noel, yeah, or Noel as he calls him,
Noel.
but it's spelled Noel. Yeah, he's this elf who is just very positive, very positive elf. Um, Also like the movie Elf. Interesting.
Considering all the rest of the elves
So
are
everybody's
actually very serious.
yeah, they are. Everybody else is pretty like business forward, business focused. So everyone's worried that Santa might have died because the sleigh has returned without him. But it turns out he's just hiding under a big sheet and pops out and surprises them all and says, "No, I'm still here." And he tells everyone they did a great job, but he's also saying the elves, they did such a good job, he's going to give them a vacation. And they complain. They're very sad about this. They don't want a vacation. They want to get right back to work. Yay, capitalism and consumerism. Work all the time. No vacation ever.
I think they're going to learn their lesson during this series as well.
Ooh, okay, good. Maybe this will be a workers' rights show by the end of it. Somehow I don't think that's the case. So, they talk a little bit. He talks with his wife, Mrs. Claus, and tells her about the magic failing. And, I don't want to jump past it. We do get my favorite joke in the whole thing. It's just a little quick aside, but I think it's pretty funny, is that when Santa reveals that he is alive, one of the elves says, "Oh, I wasn't worried at all, Santa, not one bit," and then proceeds to throw up because he was lying, and he throws up like sparkles and rainbows and shit. And Santa has the quick aside, throw some hay on that, which I thought was pretty funny because he delivered it well. Like, Tim Allen sucks, but he it sort of knows sitcom-y comedy, and he delivered that line in a way that made me laugh.
I think that's the best delivered line, or like the quickest back and forth that really clicked in the episode. Which what he's good at, and what made partially what made Home Improvement so great was his ability to play off of the other characters, often being made the fool of.
Yes.
Which apparently does not like in real life, but that it's what more having him react and do a punchline would be a lot better. There's more of that in this.
Yeah. So, he's worried about his magic failing. He goes to see the elf doctor. And turns out he's losing weight. Which is a bad thing for a Santa to do. So they have to get him eating more, doing more, or I guess doing less exercise. So he proceeds to they proceed to do a Simpsons joke, essentially the king size Homer episode where he's doing a bunch of work to gain weight so he can get on disability and work from home, which is very funny these days where a lot of people work from home and you can be in whatever shape you want to be in. But he's basically just making disgusting concoctions to eat. Like he's making a bunch of raw eggs into a blender full of candy and and eating a lot of like turkey wings as he goes on hikes with his wife while he's being carted around in his chair by the elves. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, and once again, episode's 33 minutes. This isn't a small amount of the runtime. This is a good chunk of the runtime of him just eating.
Yeah, because he said, okay, this is the worst part. The musical bits in this are bad because we get like what the hell was the song that they were they were dancing to when they return from Christmas, the elves? I can't even fucking remember. Was it like um oh god, I can't remember what the hell the song was, but it was like a changed version of some popular song that had stuff about toys and candy and bullshit in it.
Yeah, I forget what it was because I immediately tried to forget a lot of this episode if I hadn't written notes, and I did not write down the name of that song. I believe it's
Yeah, that's
looking it
fine.
up. Elves just wanna have fun.
Oh, you're right. It is elves just want to have fun. And then later he says, it can't be, he needs to basically gain weight. So he's like, it can't be eye of the tiger. It needs to be eye of the Kringle, which doesn't really work as a pun. And
It's kind of a butthole joke.
and then they, of course, proceed to play just Eye of the Tiger with some sleigh bells over it. Like they don't even like spring for a juiced up remake of that with Christmas themes. Like it's just the song with sleigh bells. Yeah, he just kind of wanders around and eats a bunch of food and says the
Me
joke that
too.
I prefaced earlier that he has the body of an MMA fighter, not an M&M eater.
Yeah, he's
Which
getting in shape. The elves are telling him that if it does not stop, he will soon, quote unquote, be ripped.
yes, he'll be ripped. Although it's very funny because he's sitting there with the doctor, and this costume that they have him in, this suit, this sort of body suit that they have him in to give him a belly. They also have added to his shoulders, so it looks like he's wearing a football uniform underneath his clothes because his shoulders are fucking huge. They do not look proportional or right at all.
It looks awful. I think they could have made him done the effect of him losing weight because he is smaller in the belly area. Without him keeping on these, the man is just thick up
It
top.
Okay, I'm going to make a very niche reference to another Tim Allen property. So there is an episode of Home Improvement where Jill is worried that she's getting old and she's kind of like out of shape and not able to keep up with Tim. And she has this weird fantasy where she is an old woman and Tim comes in and he is this like buff old man and they've padded his sweatshirt to give him these weird crazy muscles and he has huge shoulders that look exactly like what he's wearing as Santa Claus.
Maybe that's like his thing.
Maybe he's doing an unconscious callback to his other show.
No, maybe they wrote that into the show because that's his literal dream.
Yes, to have huge massive shoulders as an old man.
That's just always been his dream. It's always been his fantasy. I mean, he's clearly gotten work done on his face. Maybe he can get some work done on his shoulders. Shoulder
Um
implants are the future.
I mean, yeah, I'm almost certain that that's a thing that exists out there. So he does sit down with the elves here to have a go through the list and see who is naughty and nice. This is when we get some jokes about. He does say a little bit earlier to the doctor, but it's the same kind of basic premise here, where saying "Merry Christmas" to all has become a bit problematic.
Before, people who don't celebrate Christmas loved to be had that said to them. Now they don't.
Yeah, something's
That's on them. It's not people.
The woke mob has made it so you're not allowed to say Merry Christmas.
Except you literally. I've said this on 1,000 Christmas episodes. For everybody who said there's a war on Christmas or Christmas is being destroyed by woke mobs or whatever they want to say, if they steal words and twist them and just use them to become assholes. If you did not celebrate Christmas, if you were not someone who enjoys Christmas or religiously can celebrate Christmas or want to or anything like that, it is fucking everywhere. You cannot escape it. It is in every single building you go to, every channel you turn on. It is on every radio station. There is no war. It is culturally saturated in such a way that if even drops a little bit, it makes no difference to someone who has to put up with it constantly. And I love
Thi-
Christmas. I loved secular Christmas more than anything else. I named my child Holly because she was born near Christmas. Today's her
yeah,
birthday. But
yeah.
I would
Like
like
the
if someone
thing.
else doesn't like it, that's fine. I'm not gonna shove my shit on them.
Well, the thing too is that like the same people who are like saying that there's a war on Christmas, like guess what? You don't get nobody gets Hanukkah and Kwanzaa off from work. Work is closed on Christmas Day, so guess what? You won. Like you won. And but those are the same people who are pissed off that like stores are not open on Christmas. Like I need to get this thing. Why can't I do it?
I need to get this thing. Why can't I do it? Really motivates a lot of what we do.
Yeah, pretty much. But like imagine if you know like some place was like employees were off for Hanukkah or were off for Kwanzaa, like people would be fucking outraged. Like I guarantee you like B&H Photo, which is a website that sells um photography equipment, cameras, lenses, all kinds of stuff like that, in addition to other things. But like that's their big thing, and I think it's run by a like the folks who run it who own that site are Jewish, so they close for a lot of Jewish holidays. Like so you go and you see like, oh, we're gonna be closed for the next couple of days because of this particular holiday, and it's like, okay, cool. I didn't even know that holiday was coming because I'm not Jewish, but it's fine. If I need to get something, I can come back and order it later. Not a big deal. But like that doesn't happen across most industries because obviously we got some real problems right now in the world with the way people respond to Jewish people. And I think that it would create like some incredible havoc if somehow it were like, oh, well, now this store is closed for Hanukkah, or employees are off for Hanukkah now as well as Christmas, or we're going to switch it up and we're not going to allow them off for Christmas. But because most
Hey.
businesses want you to work on fucking Christmas. I guarantee it. If your boss had his way, he would make everybody work on Christmas Day.
Oh, 100%.
Scrooge exists, and it's just called business owners.
And here, like the wider argument is we should have more days off. We should have
Absolutely.
more fucking days off. We're all marching to the grave. Why should we spend more of our life enriching somebody else?
No, we should be elves. We should want to work all the time and be mad when we're given vacations.
Elves just want to have work. But yeah, like there's nothing that angers anyone more than walking outside and have somebody say, "Hey, I'm slightly different than you," and that is fucking outrage. Like that can't be let to stand.
I think I'm going to start saying happy holidays except Christmas. I'm just going to start saying that to cover my bases, because I thought that when I said happy holidays, I'm including all possible holidays that person could be celebrating in that given period of time, from Thanksgiving all the way up to New Year's, because I don't know. Isn't there something even beyond New Year's in like the very heavily religious? Isn't like what's the term? Isn't there like an Ascension Day or some other thing that I don't know?
It's one of
That's like January 6th or whatever.
You know, all those wise men took a while to get there and shit. But
like, January 6th is also this Christian holiday. It's got two big holidays on it now.
My strategy is I just never leave this room.
Epiphany.
A lot. Epiphany.
Epiphany was the thing I was thinking of, which does happen to be on January 6th this year. So you could celebrate two great things on January 6th of 2023.
Man, that'd be a great day to have an epiphany that we should all overthrow the Constitution.
That's good. Yeah.
Today,
so it's
talk about being inclusive. Today is the day that the owner of Twitter said he has two pronouns, prosecute Fauci, so he can, the world is getting so much better by the minute.
Yeah, we're doing great here. We're really making things so much better. We're working more. We're getting paid less, and
so many of us are going to end up in the hospital from a triple-headed threat of flu, RSV, and COVID. And people who don't have kids aren't even aware that if you want to go to the hospital right now, this is around early December. Good luck getting in before 7 to 8 hours for urgent care or ER. So good luck if you are in pain or suffering. You do not understand what it's like out there, and you are about to get a rude awakening, and you will probably blame the doctors, not society.
Yeah, the doctors are the problem. they don't give you the big lollipops anymore like they do with Santa Claus here.
The
when
only
he goes
reason
the
to
doctor.
go into the doctor is gonna eat a giant lollipop. Just get that shit down your gullet.
So
but
they do their list thing here, and this is where we get the kind of the stuff we kind of referenced earlier. Edie, one of the elves, seems to be a real SJW. She's challenging Santa on every little aspect of the list about who's actually naughty, who's actually nice. That naughty is not the right word anymore. It's supposed to be misjudged. And that like we can't blame some kid for being bad because he has ADHD, which, hey, I get it. That's actually a good thing to take those things into account, like because Santa was just going to write this kid off like he was a lost cause. But like, yeah, maybe it's something he can't help, Santa. Maybe like have a little bit of nuance.
But yet, once again, like I mentioned earlier, once this person has been given the go-ahead that is okay, they go and they start decided that all boys are all naughty because they've gone mad with power, just like the people on the internet. Once they cancel one bad person, they want to cancel all men.
See, this is what we're talking about. The woke mob has gotten their little taste of power, and they're going to go in there and they're going to destroy the sanctity of our gender norms by declaring all men bad. All men.
Man, you just can't fucking grab any boobs anymore. That was why do I even have an office if I can't grab boobs?
Why do I have an office if I can't install a button under my desk that locks the door behind people when they come inside?
He's an asshole if he's not back on TV yet. Because like the bar is really, really low.
I love that you knew who I was talking about, but also it could have been multiple people.
It could have been, and it probably is. But we found one of them. We found one of the many buttons.
Yeah, he is. I think he is very upset. I did see some art. If you don't know who we're talking about Matt Lauer. There was some article recently where he said like it was very upsetting to him when like. I can't remember who was it. Katie Couric, who also talked about how shitty he was and like how he felt betrayed by his best friend or something. You're like, no, dude, you put a button in your office to trap women inside. I don't think you're allowed to say I was betrayed when someone talked about how shitty I was.
Also means he doesn't have any real friends.
Yes.
Not because they all betrayed him, because no one actually people that didn't like him were as close to friends as he had. And the question that was all on the lips of people in the early 2000s, late 90s of where in the world is Matt Lauer? The answer is no one fucking cares. Stay away.
He's in his office being a creep. That's where he is.
Creep.
So letters to Santa are down apparently this year. Magic is fading. We didn't say it, but we're covering an entire year in the span of this episode.
Fantastic. We got a lot of it for our value.
Yeah, I wonder if every episode will cover a year. Probably not, but
the kids would have to age. But by the way, they don't.
Oh, true. Good point. So they probably don't. Apparently Noelle and the head elf here, Betty, they're in a relationship, which I know they're elves. They're supposed to be like thousands of years old, but it's weird with these two kids, one of whom calls the other honey buns. And she says, not at work because I'm your boss, which also feels like a imbalance of not an appropriate use of power.
It's funny because she's a woman.
Yeah, well, yes, that's the joke.
That's why it's funny, Josh. It's hilarious. Let me explain comedy to you right now.
Yes, please tell me.
I have a 69 episode of podcast, which just tells you what I have decided what I'd call it is, hey women, this is what's funny, and I'm just going to explain for 69 episodes what comedy is and why they don't get it and why they need to shut up.
I'm sure that if you were to do that, it would shoot to the top of the charts and you'd have a very lucrative Patreon.
I would appear at so many speaking engagements.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go to hell.
You'd be a regular. You'd be a regular on Joe Rogan's podcast, I'm sure.
Even if hell wasn't real, they'd create it. They'd find a spot for it. They'd make it.
And your new episode posts would be like top rated on Reddit and 4chan, 8chan, whatever.
Weirdly popular. among young men for some reason.
Yeah,
But no
exactly.
women would listen to it, even though I'm trying to talk to them directly.
Your show would get cited in lots of manifestos and like real positive stuff in the community. So Mrs. Claus tells Santa that she has a bit of a bad feeling about tonight, and he's like, "Wow, thanks. I bet your first name is Bummer," which is great.
And then there's a callback to a conversation that in her reality she had over 300 days ago.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good thing for me to remember. Like, if you asked me to remember what we podcasted about 300 days ago, I would not be able to do it unless you specified what it was.
Every now and then we'll get some kind of feedback on some episode we did even a year ago. Someone will say like, "Hey, I watched that movie you guys watched," or "Hey, remember this joke you guys made?" I'm like, I don't remember that movie at all.
Yeah, it's tough. So we do see Santa head out here for Christmas deliveries. We cut back to Cal Penn, who's playing Simon Choxy, I think is his name. And he's the head of the company Everything Now. We talked about it earlier. They had promised some big thing by Christmas, but apparently they had lots of problems, and he's getting grilled. Yes, because of e-commerce issues, and he's getting grilled by some reporter who's giving him a hard-hitting interview on Christmas Eve live.
The idea that a rich tech person would go on TV and be given hard questions where they have to squirm.
It's very funny. Like,
it would.
This is because he is kind of the equivalent of Jeff Bezos, basically. Like, he's trying to be anyway. Like, he's trying to be a big mogul like that, like an Amazon type person. And
currently, he just lives in a regular house. But
yeah. I mean, it's a big, nice house, like no question. But
by TV standards, it's a regular house.
It is a regular house. Yeah,
if it's a dog movie, he's basically in a small house.
Yes, and they create a distraction. His assistant cuts through a power line and shuts off all the power. So I guess that just stops the interview. Why did Mark
Meadows think about this when he interviewed?
If every interview that Trump gave just ended because someone cut through a cable, that'd be very funny.
I'm just thinking about that one where he just he had that big book with nothing in it and he just walked away. Like 5 minutes into it on air, and they aired it, and like, wow, I can't believe he didn't get reelected. It must have been scammed. No one who does that would ever lose an election. But like, if like we just had like McEnany, like, you know, sitting down there with like scissors cutting wires.
I mean, Elon Musk should watch this episode and really take some tips from it whenever he starts getting interviewed on things, but that'll probably never happen.
Running multiple businesses while also clearly not doing shit.
He's too busy planning to send those poor people into space and kill them.
God save their souls. They are already dead.
Yeah, there's a great tweet a couple days ago, as of this recording, where they had announced the crew that was going to man a SpaceX flight, and someone just quote tweeted that and said like, "Future condolences to their families."
No
it's like, probably. And one of the crew members is musician Steve Aoki, whose dad started what was that fucking company that his dad started? The hibachi grill place. Oh, Benihana. Yeah. His dad started Benihana.
And now he's cutting his life short. If not during the actual flight or return, the amount of I'm going to assume they're not going to be even remotely padded against cosmic rays radiation.
No, probably not. They're all going to come back with Fantastic Four powers.
Or cancer.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they'll probably just open the thing and then just liquid pours out of the shuttle.
You know how the International Space Station's in space. It's really fucking low, like, for a reason.
Yeah,
because of radiation.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Anyways, good luck to them. Merry Christmas. Their very last Christmas.
But yeah, so he goes outside, Cal Penn does, and he happens to spot Santa flying overhead, and he tries to get a video of it, but it doesn't work. Santa disappears into a portal. Before we didn't He does travel via like these weird sort of worm tunnels, wormholes kind of now, where they just pop up in the sky and he can fly through them to the next city, and it's basically just shots of a CG sleigh coming out of a portal into another portal over stock footage of a random city. Like, it's very badly made and shot and looks just terrible. So he sees this and gets the idea that like we should be able to do that without really thinking about what the fuck that means. Like, we should just be able to make a portal in the sky and fly reindeer through it.
It is such a jump that that's what he saw Santa Claus do magic and thought that would help my logistics.
Yes. And Santa seems to be kind of downtrodden. He's a little bummed out, and he tells Noel that he just wants to sort of get it over with. And he goes, does his sort of trick where the bag picks him up and carries him to the chimney, but it starts to malfunction here, and he slips and falls off the roof and lands face down in the snow. And Noel stands on the edge of the roof and salutes him, and then the show goes to black. So Santa's dead. I'm never gonna watch the rest of the show now, and I'm just gonna assume that he died right there.
I mean, they have the rights to Circle to Life. They should have played it right then.
Okay, but I know that's not true. I know that he lives. Please, you did a little bit of research into what this show is actually about, so I would like to hear what that is.
So this is a very, very low overlook of this whole series.
And the show is not done yet. It's as of this recording, there's still one more episode to come out.
There is, but streamers, screeners have been put out, so there is recaps of it. So Cal Penn becomes Santa Claus. He makes him Santa Claus.
Okay,
but he's a bad Santa Claus. He wants to use the elves to do logistics and run his business.
But isn't that what Santa's already doing?
No, he wants to do Christmas every day. All this, the magic of the North Pole disappears and the elves disappear, and then Scott, who was talked to the other Santas, and he apparently, he has Peyton Manning come along and his own son from the movies and stuff to audition to be the Santa Claus because he's going to retire. They're going to go to a real town and do real jobs and have the son's going to meet a girl for the first time and all that stuff. But then Cal Penn is just a bad Santa. Unfortunately, the person of color is a bad Santa.
Oh, great. Yeah, good job.
And in the end, Scott realizes that him and his family are the first family of Christmas, and they must take back the mantle of Santa Claus from Cal Penn. So it ends with him and his family becoming Santa Claus again, and not with Cal Penn realizing the error of his ways and learning to be a good Santa Claus. Instead, it's just Tim Allen as Santa Claus again.
That seems so counterintuitive to what the show should be, which is that the whole point of the series was, or at least the first movie, was him not wanting to do it, being bad at it, and then getting good at it, and then like kind of dealing with the other things, but being a good Santa. Like, he's obviously established, and then you could give this opportunity for like an interesting idea would be that this guy takes over, is bad, and then gets better, like improves his life. And realizes what Christmas is all about and like what's important, and it's not about commerce and all that bullshit.
And he might, but he also has to give up the mantle of Santa Claus.
Wow, really? Because I imagine
in the end, Tim Allen wants to be able to do more projects with his character, but at the same thing, the man is probably got 10 years to live at most. This would have been a good chance for him to stay as an executive producer like he is for this one and make all the fucking money off it. But if they want to keep this alive as a franchise, which I don't see why you have to. It could have been just one movie. That's all it really ever needed to be. But if you wanted to, because they love doing this stuff, you didn't want to have to reboot it entirely eventually, which you're going to do eventually. There'll be a new Santa Claus with the whole story is retold from the beginning, but you could have just brought in the next Santa Claus and then had another series or movie where they have some sort of thing to overcome.
Yeah.
Instead, it's just they find out that, you know what, they're the best Santas for the job.
Yeah, so, like,
And
does he just get his magic just comes back even though it's failing now? Like,
well,
somehow
now
Christmas spirit springs back to life?
it must bring back to life in him. He's got to get the coat back. Apparently, that's
But
the important part.
Well, but the whole point of the show is that the people aren't believing nor writing more letters, so it feels like it should be more about how do we get people to be more into the Christmas spirit, thus bringing the magic back.
So this is why he picks Cal Penn, is that he believes that he's a modern Santa who understands technology better.
Oh, I see. Wow.
Yeah. Uh,
So wait,
you know, just-
does it explain? You said it retcons what happened to the Santa from the first movie.
the Santa from the first movie, apparently he did not die. He just got up and went back to a regular life as a regular name guy. He had met Tim Allen's character Scott many years earlier, had some kind of interaction with him, had decided that he would be the next Santa. He was
Is that
the
Jim
right man.
O'Hare?
I believe they recast it.
But I mean, is that
Jim?
Jim O'Hare in the show? Because he's listed as Santa 17 in an
Yes,
episode.
that Jim O'Hare is Santa 17. He is 17, is known as in the show.
Fun fact: Jim O'Hare is in that Matthew Lawrence Santa movie as his elf helper that I talked about earlier. He's not Santa. He's playing an elf helper, and Matthew Lawrence is playing Santa's son.
What's really impressive about this show is besides like Casey Wilson, and Cal Penn, there's a lot of people in the show in roles that are fairly important who they cast nobodies. Like there's a lot of stuff on the Wikipedia page for characters who are recurring, who do not have pages.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
I
he meets Krampus, he meets Papa Noel. He meets
I want to watch
Saint
that
Nicholas.
episode. That's episode 5. I want to watch that just because I want to see all the different Santas. I think that's a fun idea.
I think I would imagine all this stuff in between is kind of filler of like them, living in real life, at first liking it and then realizing they miss being Santa.
Yeah, of course. I'm a normal person. I don't have fucking magic anymore. Yeah, I would hate that too. What are you talking about?
The best episode that did that was of any show. Once again, Simpsons when they go work for Scorpio.
Yeah,
Homer goes where it all works out great for him, but not for the family, and they reset the entire series again.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think I do probably will. I do want to watch. That
Merry Christmas.
I will do it. I'm so befuddled because I'm so excited about seeing all these different Santas.
If someone tells you Krampus is going to be in something, you will watch it.
I mean, no, that's not true because there's a lot of Krampus movies out there that look like absolute dog shit, which I haven't bothered.
I bet
sitting through.
you have a little folded book with little sleeves, and it's just filled with discs with no box of Krampus movies and DVDs.
Yeah, that is true. I do have that. I'm gonna flip through it real quick after we finish recording here and find me a Krampus movie to put on. I watch one Krampus movie every day of December. So.
Krampsember.
Krampsember. So I mean,
Your potassium is Krampsember.
I don't think that I probably will watch any more of this. I might scrub through that episode where he meets all the Santa Clauses, though. As much as I think that multiverse shit is going to get real old, what with the Marvel Universe doing it now, I still like those kinds of things. I always like that. And I do have a soft spot for whatever reason, even though they always, for the most part, turn out bad. I have a soft spot for shows that tend to go like loop back around on themselves and like try to look at the things that have already happened from different perspectives. So like, I feel like we're going to see, the stuff from the first movie and where that Santa went to and like how it connects. And I think they might even do that in the third movie, like with Jack Frost. Like, I think that there's something about them going back to the scene of the first movie where Jack Frost tries to like get in the Santa suit before Scott Calvin can. It goes back in time or whatever. So like, I don't know. I have a fondness for time travel bullshit and like looking at stuff from another perspective that we've already seen. So I don't know. Maybe I'll scrub through this. I mean, that's dumb, but maybe. I don't know.
Um,
It's dumb. It's fine.
it's dumb. It's fine. Uh, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
Honestly, going
So
forward.
yeah, let's put it on
Oh,
our
if people are
holiday.
wondering, if the fucking horrific fireplace is back from 3, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Probably the only good thing about this show is that crazy ass fireplace.
It's just terrifying.
So we should put it on our list of our scale of merriment that we're doing for the holiday season. I mean, I don't know if we can necessarily call this weird other than bad. So I think that if we were going to rate it on the bad scale, it's at least a 7 or 8.
Bad scale 7 or probably an 8 for me. That puke joke was pretty good. I think you could have done something fun with this. I think that there is something to this other than him once again being like, I'm crabby. Maybe I got to learn how to be Santa Claus for the 14th time. But
I think, I think that if they
not,
had,
yeah, go on.
I think that if they had done kind of what we talked about, where like he does stop being Santa and maybe has to act as a guide for a new person to take over, or like for someone to learn their skills or whatever, or
Learn the skills or like and him doing it in a way where he's genuinely helpful and genuinely trying to help someone become generally a good Santa Claus, and it was and the end goal was never the person fails and he realizes he has to be Santa Claus again. I think would be good, and comes off to me, I just see it as like Tim Allen isn't going to give up this role.
No, he doesn't want to.
We need a reminder that he's the best at this.
Yeah.
He's not going to give up Buzz Lightyear to fucking anyone else.
No,
But
no.
like weird would not like. Here's where this show is profoundly unweird to me. Is where I did say like, hey, I could see if you were tasked with creating a TV show continuation of the Santa Claus movies, like you could come up with something fun, colorful, and really light and enjoyable for the holidays. That really didn't have to shame society for being kids for using tech and society for liking fucking phones, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm so fucking tired of that. But it is profoundly, absolutely 100% what I would assume they would have made.
Yeah.
Nothing about this surprises me at all. I was like at all like when I saw what I thought the plot was gonna be, and I looked it up, I'm like, this has to be where it goes, and it is every beat what I assumed they would make. So that's great. On the bright side, it is better than the Pentaveret.
Yeah, we don't really go to the modern TV show well too much. So thank goodness it is better than that, because it is better than that, even though it looks worse. Like I think this is a like graphics and special effects wise, this is way worse than the Pentaveret, but and makeup wise is way worse than the Pentaveret, even though the Pentaveret was also pretty bad. But like that show was just atrocious, just in general was just very, very, very bad.
It was impossible to sit through. Like, just impossible.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it was just unpleasant at all times. And this one, at least it's like, oh, I like some of these actors.
Yeah, some of them are okay. But I think that's probably going to be enough of us talking about the Santa Clauses. Can't recommend it. Don't really waste your
Can't
time on
recommend
it.
it enough.
Yeah, they'll put that on the box art. Can't recommend it in the parentheses. Enough, Josh Hollis.
Josh Hollis. I hope I did my Josh impression. I can just do an impression of you doing really, strong endorsements for shows so we can get on boxes, but I don't have to have my name attached to it.
Yeah, I'm sure that they could find some ways to cut up some things that I've said and put it together to make a very glowing pull quote.
My pull quote, looks like shit. Brian Skinner. No matter what we watch. Best Academy Award winner for best movie this year. Looks like shit. Brian Skinner.
We'll cut all your stuff up. The Santa Clauses looks like milk and cookies.
Soy milk.
But that's going to do it for this episode of Center of Weirdness / Center of Merriment. We hope that you're having an enjoyable holiday season. And we'll be back again in a few weeks with a brand new episode. Not sure what we're talking about. Not sure if it'll still be holiday related or not, but you can bet your ass we will be back with another episode. Uh-oh, Santa's going to put me on the misunderstood list for cursing.
That's our new ending. That's every episode. And you always have to deliver it like that.
You can bet your ass we'll be back. But until next time, I've been Jolly Josh.
I've been Skinner. I'm just simple Santa Skinner.
And we want you to keep it ass. Turned into a morning zoo crew there at the end.
The t-shirt's gonna fly off the shelves.
You've been listening to Center of Weirdness. If you like this show, rate and review us wherever you find it, but especially on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to every episode at centerofweird.com, where you can also find all of the old Predictocast episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us to tell us about a show we should cover, hit us up on Twitter at WeirdCenter. As always, thanks for listening.